This is video 4B of the CUTP template instructional series. In this video, we will continue demonstrating the screens of the PO Wizard module where we left off from in the last video. As you can see, we have already created the themes for our training periods days, and we're ready to move on to content selections in the Training Period Selections tab. The Training Period Selections tab in the PO Wizard module is a summary screen, showing the status of selections for all levels and phases in two areas. In the upper part of the screen, we have Training Periods Day selections, and in the lower part of the screen, we have complementary EO choices for Parade Night training sessions. Red total boxes mean selections are not complete. As selections are completed, total boxes add up and turn green so that the summary screen is visually easy to read. We will start with EO selections for Training Periods Days in the upper half of the screen. 9 EOs are required for each day. In total, 18 mandatory and 18 complementary EOs need to be selected. As you can see, no selections have yet been made. To begin making EO selections for Training Periods Days, click on the Training Periods Days selection button here on the left, and the EO selection screen opens. Begin by selecting the level or phase that you want to work with, using the drop-down list. You'll notice that the Training Periods Days themes appear, and there are totals for each individual day. Also on the upper right, there are total boxes showing the totals for mandatory and complementary EOs selected so that we get the correct mix of 18 mandatory and 18 complementary EOs. The next step is to select a PO that you want to work with. There are two methods of doing this. One method is to view all POs and EOs using the checkbox here. Down below, all EOs belonging to the displayed year, in this case level 1, are displayed, and we can scroll through using the scroll bar that appears right here and scrolling up. That's quite a bit of content to look at one time, and you may be interested in managing the amount of information being displayed by using the PO filter and selecting the EOs for one PO at a time to view by choosing a PO. In this case, I'm going to choose 102 Community Service. So there's my PO selection, and the POs that go with mandatory and complementary are displayed down below. I'm going to now demonstrate some content selections, some EO content selections, and how to assign those EOs to specific training periods days. So we're selecting EOs and we're assigning them to specific days. So this is where referring to your Training Periods Day themes helps you in guiding your content choices. I'm right now going to look at my Poppy Sales and Remembrance Day, and because of that, that's why I've selected PO 102 Community Service. So I'm looking at those days, I want to fill those days, and I'm selecting a PO with content that will help me to complete those days. First then, looking at Mandatory 10201 9 periods perform community service. I want to select this EO. I look at this checkbox right here asking me if I want to select this EO. I check that checkbox. You see on the left that that EO is now shaded, and that indicates that it is a selected EO, so it stands out really great against other EOs which are not currently selected. And it also appears in the list to the right hand side here. And if you notice, it appears shaded red because it is not yet assigned to a training periods day. It's simply a selected EO. This is a mandatory EO, and you notice up above here the totals. I've got 9 out of 18 mandatory EOs selected right now and 0 out of 18 complementary. So I have an EO selected. I now need to assign it to a training periods day, and that's what this drop down box here is for. I click on the drop down list. I'm going to use this to fill my Poppy Sales day, and I select the day. Poppy Sales is now complete. It has 9 out of 9 required periods filled, and that content is on this specific day. You notice that the EO to the right is no longer shaded red. I'm going to go on to select my next day. I'm looking at my Remembrance Day. It's not yet complete. I'm looking at C10202, also 9 periods. Clicking here to select that EO. It's shaded on the left hand side, appears in the list to the right, still red because it hasn't been assigned to a day. Go to my training day selection, That's going to be my Remembrance Day content, and I select that. Remembrance Day is now complete with 9 periods, and my totals to the right show 9 periods of mandatory EOs, 9 periods of complementary EOs selected so far. My remaining 2 days, training periods days for year 1, are the fall sports and spring sports. For that, I'm going to look at different content, obviously looking at PO 105, recreational sports. I'm going to select that PO, and the EOs belonging to it now are displayed over here. My selections of what I've already selected are over here. I've got all my totals telling me the status of where I'm at in my selections. I'm looking at this mandatory 10501. I'm going to select it and assign the appropriate day from the drop-down list. In this case, I'm going to use the fall sports day. And I've got 3 options here for complementary 105. I need to look at which option that I want to have, select the appropriate one, assign it to the day that I want to have, and I've got all 4 days for my training periods days year 1 complete, and I've got the correct totals over here. Everything's green, telling me very visually that all my selections are complete. No EOs in my selected list are appearing red, so everything is properly assigned to a day, and that is all good. There is a training periods days filter drop-down list. If I want to look at the content that I've assigned to each day, I can view that content, and that can be helpful for when you have more than one EO selected. In this case, my selections are very simple and fairly easy to read. I probably wouldn't need to use this tool, but if my selections were having multiple EOs for certain days, then it would help me to filter that and see what I'm doing on each day. With year 1 completed, I'm going to go back to my level filter, select year 2, so I can begin working with year 2. And this process then is simply completed until all 4 days for each level or phase are complete. At this point, I'm going to use year 2 to show you how to make some advanced EO content selections and show you some options that you have for splitting EOs, such as the community service and sports EOs, both mandatory and complementary content. I'm going to begin by assigning citizenship as we did for year 1, and then I'll demonstrate the advanced selections with the sports days. So I'm going to go to 202, Community Service. Here are my EOs. I'm looking at, again, at the Poppy Sales and Remembrance Day, and I'm able to quickly select my EOs and assign to the desired days. Those 2 days are complete. And now going on to Recreational Sports 205. And we're going to show you those advanced EO selections. So you may have noticed this multiple days button appears on certain EOs, and where it appears it tells you that those are EOs that the EO can be split. There's 9 periods here. It can be split in blocks of 3 and assigned to different training periods days, or even between some on training periods days and some on the parade night. Returning to the summary screen by clicking the return button, we can see that at this point the training period day selections for years 1 and 2 are complete, but not yet for years 3 and 4. Of course, we would want to continue those selections until all 4 years are complete, but at this point we're going to move on and demonstrate to you the next step, which is selecting the 30 periods down below here of complementary EO content required for each level or phase to be conducted on parade night training session. The EO selected here will appear in the PO scheduler. To begin making EO selections for these 30 complementary periods, you click on the Complementary Training Session Selections button here, and the EO selection screen opens. This EO selection screen is much the same as the previous screen, except there is no drop down to assign EOs to a training periods day, as these EOs are all intended for parade night training sessions. So again, it works much the same. You've got your level filter and you select the level or phase that you want to work with. You've got the PO filter choices to select a particular PO or view all POs. In this case, I'm going to select view all POs. The EOs are displayed in numerical order, and we've got the information about the EO, and we simply decide which ones that we want to select. Once we select the EO, it is shaded on the left and appears in the list to the right. We've got the total boxes here indicating that we've so far selected 3 out of 30 periods for year 1. And as you continue to make your selections, it's very clear with the shading which EOs are selected, which EOs are not. We have our list here, and our totals continue to update. I just want to demonstrate to you here is a particular EO that has what we call flexible content. That's C10801, total of 6 periods. But in this case, as you've seen with other EOs, for example 10704 above, if I select that EO, I'm selecting all EOs that belong to it, 2 periods in this case. But with C10801, I can choose less than the maximum number of periods, and I know that's the case because it tells me in this box here that that's an option, and this numerical box for periods is activated, whereas the EO above, that box is blank, and the totals box, the number box, is not activated. So if I select that EO, I can use the drop down to select less than the total number, maximum number of periods for that EO, and that's what I get in my list to the right, and that's what's added to my totals box. So I've skipped down a bit just so I could demonstrate that to you early on here. You would go through and looking at the content, select the EOs that you would like to include and the EOs that make sense to you until you have the required number of 30 EOs. I'm just going to make some quick selections. To try and fill this up just for the demonstration purposes. You notice here with my final selection, I've actually got 31 periods, which is more than the required number. That's why the total boxes remain red. So for all intents and purposes, I have to find one period that I want to take off of there. I've selected one. I want to keep the rest. I've got my selected list here. My totals are 30 out of 30 required. I would then use my level filter to choose the next level or phase that I want to work with. And I would continue that process until 30 EOs are selected for each year. I'm going to hit the return box to go back to my total screen just to give you an idea of where we're at. As you can see, we're certainly not finished in our content selections here on this screen. We're going to quickly go off camera and be back to show you the screen with all the selections completed. And we're back with our content selections completed, and here's what your summary screen will look like when all your selections have been completed for each level or phase. The final tab in the PO Wizard module is for Year 5 Cadets, and I will just click on that now. And this tab is used for registering and managing Year 5 Cadets. As you can see, this screen is not active until after your training plan is approved, as these features are needed near the start of your training year when you know who your returning Year 5 Cadets will be. One item of information that is displayed now is the date and location information regarding Year 5 Cadet workshops for your corps or squadron. Detailed information on the registration and management of Year 5 Cadets is covered in a later video. In our next video, we will be demonstrating the supported training days scheduler.